Welcome back to Lumps of Life. My name is Jared Lumsden. Thank you for joining me again. Hopefully, the first one was enjoyed. I like to go on a lot of random tangents, and hopefully, it made enough sense. But for these next couple, um, before I dive into talking to people and interviewing people and having some fun with others. I still want to kind of just walk through the journey I've been through and the things I've learned and a lot of these different topics. And 'tis the Christmas season. Have my Christmas Mount Rushmore shirt on. But I think mental health is the next one that I really want to dive into because for me, I think I said that on the first one. It was the most important. Obviously, the physical aspect, if you want to like build your body and lose weight, that physical aspect is definitely important. You do have to move your body and those things are important, but mentally, they always say you can't out train a bad diet. And that for me, mentally, I did not realize that was what it was. It was my discipline. It was my lack of accountability. It was me giving up. It was me utilizing these different triggers and letting my emotions affect my progress, letting my emotions affect my eating habits, whether or not I went to the gym, what I was doing. And it's so easy, I feel like, as humans to fall into that, to fall into these mental spirals where again talked about it in the first one with your trauma, your pain, things that pop up in your head on a consistent basis, whether again that can be as, yearly, where this thing happened to you in middle school where someone said something to you that made you feel a certain way and that stuck with you over time, where certain situations bring that up, certain situations make you feel that or remember that, and then that fucks up your entire day or it fucks up the next hour. And it can be anything. It could be something a relative said or did one time, a weird mistake that you made that you've hid from everyone that you don't want to talk about. A it, it does not matter if it pops up in your head and it makes you have an emotion other than happiness. There's probably something there. If it's causing you to lash out at your significant other, if it's causing you to lash out at your kids, if you're being mean to yourself, that's a huge one. How you talk to yourself is so important. You can, and I'll give you an example. Actually, I want to start this with a story. Because this will kind of play into this, and I think this is just the best way to start it. So I had a day, it's been about 5, 6 days ago where diet, mentality, everything went completely fucking off the rails. Like worse than I've done in a long time. It was like I talked about in the first episode, like an old school day where I legitimately ate fast food 3 different times. And that doesn't ever happen. And I felt horrible mentally, I felt horrible physically, I felt horrible, and I kind of want to dive into it because I fucked up, and I think that's such a good way to explain these things in this journey that like can really derail you if you have the wrong mentality. So essentially, it was Thursday, and uh, full transparency, I had just recorded my first episode, and mentally that was something that I had been battling. I spent the last 5 6 months really working on myself and really trying to decide what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do this, and I just genuinely want to explain these things that I've learned, because if it helps one person pull themselves out of whether it's the mental battle, whether it's the physical battle, or both, then awesome. If it turns into us just having a weekly call with each other, that's fantastic. But I've learned a lot of things about my body, my brain, and I do enjoy talking about it. I enjoy like explaining these things that I've learned and trying to use it as an outlet to get these things off of my brain so they're not things that are just swirling around and I'm just sitting on, but battling whether or not I could do this, or people would want to listen to this, or and I would always give myself an excuse. I would look at my stomach when I got out of the shower and be like, "Look, you still have the lower belly fat. You're not in good enough shape to talk about this shit. It doesn't matter how." And I would just talk to myself that way, and I would talk myself out of it. I would get myself to a point where I'm like, "Oh yeah, like I just need to get back to what I'm doing." And then mentally, same concept. I would get into a good spot where I would have these thoughts, these things pop in my head, and it's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like I can probably." And then same thing. It's like, "Ah, that's just normal shit. Like this isn't going to be any." And I would just psych myself out. And mentally, that also coincided with how my diet was going. I would have a bad day eating where I would give in and go get Taco Bell. I would give in, and that next day I would feel horrible. I would almost like punish myself to an extent where I would fast, and I in my head I was doing the right thing. I was like, "Oh, I ate fast food last night," or "Oh, I had a bowl of fruity pebbles," or whatever it was, and then I would let that consume my brain and make me feel like I was fat again, make me realize or feel like I wasn't making the progress that I and it would just completely derail me for a day or 2, and I have to pick myself back up, or life would happen. Me and my wife would have something. The kids would be in a spot, or I myself would it just like I kept giving myself reasons to not do it, and mentally, that's what a lot of it was, and I was driving myself nuts, and it's just that fear. It's fear of doing shit. It's fear of putting yourself out there, doing something different, and it was just me making excuses to not do it again. Like, it's not like I haven't done a podcast before, but in my head, this was completely different and something that was like, "Oh, shit, like, I have to get back out there and do it." And it's on me. This is fully me being vulnerable and talking about my story and things that I've learned, and it did. At times it scared the shit out of me where I was like, nope, nope, can't do that." And then once I did the first one, it was like, yeah, this is all in your head. It's just you worried about all of these different things rather than just doing it. Just do it and start building it. You have to start somewhere. You can't focus on the results. You can't focus on what's going on. You have to just start putting in the work and start putting in the progress. And I kind of had that realization because my son was trying to put together money to buy something, and we were talking about it, and he was like, "Well, that's going to take me forever." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is going to take you forever." Now that being said, if you continue to talk about how long it's going to take you and you don't start, are you ever going to get there? Well, no. Okay, if you start now, are you going to get there? Time's irrelevant. If you start now, are you going to get there? Well, yeah, probably. Okay, well then why not just start and see what happens? And I was kind of one of those, "Oh yeah, I need to take my own advice" type situations. But mentally, I kept myself small. I kept myself from doing things because of a bunch of different outside reasons other than listening to myself and going, "Hey, is this what I want to do?" Well, yeah, I've learned a lot with my brain and my body, and I genuinely want to help people if they want to do these things too, or if it works for you, or however it goes, that's what I want to do. Am I not doing it because I can't do it, or am I not doing it out of an outside reason? If I'm not doing it out of fear or anxiety or pressure or stress or any of these things, then it's just me holding myself back and staying small. And so that was a mental battle that I had then, and it would fall into the food, it would fall into the way I was working out. If I hadn't worked out for a few days, it would the mental thing would start falling off again. And I've just started learning the different things that trigger it, the different things that hit it. And I want to get into the day that I had food wise. We went to the gym that morning, everything was normal. I just posted the podcast, so I felt, or I hadn't posted it, I just recorded it, and I felt really, really good. I was like, it was one of those moments that I had battled myself for so long with it, and it was like, "Oh, I finally, like, broke that and was able to do it." And once I did it, it felt phenomenal. So then going to the gym, had a great workout. we were at home. We ended up needing to run to the store, and we were not at a normal grocery store, but we were trying to find something that wasn't like uber processed and terrible. And it was like, oh, everything in here is going to be kind of the same. So my wife was like, why don't we just go grab a quesadilla? And I'm like, oh, that sounds phenomenal. And we did. We went and got a quesadilla and a taco, and I think I got a Diet Pepsi. And I was like, all right, like we've eaten very, very good this week. It's been an awesome week. Like, fuck it. I deserve some Taco Bell. Let's do it. And I did it. Now, mind you, I had used AI the last time we got Taco Bell, which I don't even remember, probably a month. We're usually about a month or two out from fast food anymore, where those cravings come back in, or the kids ask, and we're like, oh yeah, that sounds delicious. And I'll get to that momentarily. But I had asked AI, and it was the same thing. It was like, oh yeah, all you're going to be doing is you're going to ramp up the wild sodium. So just be careful, because it could entice those cravings, the sugar cravings, the going to get additional fast food. So just be mindful of that. And yeah, had no problem, was able to eat it, was able to kind of move forward. And I think I had a normal dinner that night, whatever. This time, that did not happen. I did not read anything on AI. I enjoyed the hell out of that Taco Bell. And then yeah, went back to normal, like did my normal stuff throughout the day. I don't ever stop moving. So that evening we were running a little late. We were getting ready to go to an event, and the plan was to eat dinner beforehand. Well, we ran behind, and we were like, "Oh, we'll just stop and grab something on the way." And my daughter wanted fast food, and it was like, all right, yeah, we've already messed the day up with the Taco Bell. Why not? It sounded delicious. So we ended up at McDonald's, and I was like, all right, this is one of those moments that I've got to make a decision. And I'm like, yeah, I already had Taco Bell, had a weak moment, and was like, yeah, we're doing it. And I ordered nuggets and a hamburger, I believe is what I got, because I was like, all right, I won't do the fries. And like it mattered. So ate that. My face started sweating about 5 nuggets in. My face felt horrible. I was very, very angry with myself, but powered through anyway. It was like, yeah, we're good. Like that was stupid, but we did it. So whatever. So we went to the event we were going to, and on the way home from said event, we were hungry again. I could not imagine why. Maybe because we had not eaten any actual real fucking nutrients throughout the day. It was bullshit food. Mind you, the night before, I had venison steaks, and I had venison steaks with Alfredo pasta. I ate maybe half of a serving of the Alfredo and my steak, and I was so full. And it's like, oh yeah, this is real food. This is real nutrients that I'm eating, not the pasta, but the venison. And it's like how quickly you get full. And then with fast food, you can eat obnoxious amounts, and you're just continuously craving more, and it ignites that. And I think I read it was the GMOs are basically made to like give you that taste buds on steroids type thing that you cannot get from anything else. Then I watched multiple videos. I've watched a video that this guy took 3 different burgers. He took a Big Mac, a Whopper, and a Five Guys burger, and left them sitting for like, I forget what it was, like a month or something. And the Five Guys burger looked like it had been blowtorched. There was so much like black mold and shit that had grown over it. The Whopper had a pretty good amount of mold. Like it still looked pretty like normal. There was just some growths on it. And then the Big Mac looked like it had just came out of the store. And it's like, ooh, what are they feeding us? Then I watched another one where these people were doing the math of how many burgers are served in the US compared to the cows, and they were just kind of doing the math like, hey, what the fuck are we eating? Like what are they, and whether it's like clone type things, or they've figured out a way to almost like 3D print meat. It cannot be super good, but it it ignited that like inner fat kid in me, I guess. And I was back hooked. It was similar to what I said about the social media, where I started dabbling back into it. And it was like, oh shit, like I'm addicted to this again. Like, I have to, like, physically break this and, like, tell myself to put my phone down. But it it had us in that world, and again, then we're on the way home, and we're trying to figure out where to stop and grab something. It's like, "Oh, we've already fucked it up," and we stopped and grabbed Church's chicken on the way home. And it was like, in the moment, it was like, "Oh, fuck yeah, this is gonna be amazing." I made it through about half of my meal, and I was doubled over on the couch, and I thought I was going to die. It it was such a bad idea, and it's one of those things that it's like, yeah, I can pretend like that didn't happen, and no, I had a weak ass moment. I had a horrible, like, lapse in judgment and ended up doing that throughout a day and felt horrendous. But the reason I wanted to tell that story is because normally that's what would have been my diet buster. That would have been the end of all of it. I always went a couple weeks and would lose it. I wouldn't be able to do it anymore. I wouldn't be able to stick to it. I would give in to the fast food. I'd get back hooked on McDonald's, Taco Bell, and it would just consume my brain. So anytime anything came up, if I had a bad day, if I was happy, it was a reward. It was a whatever, a pick me up, a dopamine hit. It was all of those things. So now when I do that, yeah, I let the dopamine hit get the best of me. I did eat like absolute fucking hell, but that next morning I got up at 6:30. I went into the gym. I went back to normal. I ate my normal diet and I didn't fall back into it. I was able to kind of get myself through. I think I worked out both days this weekend as well. So it's being able to now shut that down mentally. And when I do have those moments, not letting it consume me. And the reason I told that story is because that is what got me to this point, was building that mental strength, because that wasn't who I was as a person. I was so quick to give up on everything. I was quick to lie about things to protect myself. I was quick to do any of those things, the validation, people pleasing. There's so many pieces of this. Control is a huge one. Um, the best way I can, like, start this out is we watched the movie Inside Out with my kids, and I hadn't watched it forever, and we watched both of them back to back, and it was so interesting, like, watching the nuances of that movie, and it's so silly, but it really is kind of how our brains operate. Like, as a kid, joy is the one hammering the button. Joy controls everything. The rest of your emotions are just there as, like, backups. Like, they're there to, like, hit the button when needed, but overall joy is supposed to control the control panel. Over time, as humans, you let life kind of take over, and then anger takes over the control panel. Fear takes over the control panel. Anxiety, stress, guilt, shame. Pick your emotion, and if you're consistently acting out of those emotions and you're not letting your joy and happiness run that control panel, that's kind of what gets you into these loops. And I it was weird. There was a scene in it, I think it's in the first one, where it cuts to the dad's brain and then the mom's brain, and it's super quick, and I never noticed it until this last time we watched it. But when it cuts to the brain, the dad's brain is ran by anger and the mom's brain is ran by fear. They're the ones that are in control, and the kids' brains ran by joy. And it was like, oh yeah, they're showing you that over time our brains are taken over by fear, anger, and it's all this life shit that compiles over time. And that learning that and being able to express those things, whether it be in therapy, whether it be with your spouse, you do these things with a friend. Therapy obviously is the easiest route, but it's not simple. There's been a lot of times that looking into therapy, like, yeah, when I was working, it was through our work, but I talked about it on the last one. The What I was getting was just me talking to someone and then them giving me a like cookie cutter assignment type thing to like, well, here, do this. This will help you. And don't get me wrong, it was good. Like it was basically like if I woke up with the anxiety in the middle of the night to just write it down, write down these things that are on my brain. And that helps kind of alleviate those things. So the next time it happened, that's exactly what I did. I pulled out my notepad and I just started typing on my phone, and then it kind of wore me out and I went and passed back out and it was like, "Oh, okay." So not that it didn't work, but like it was just one of those things where it was like it made me realize, "Oh, they're just letting me talk. They're just letting me vent this stuff out. They're just letting me speak these things into existence, and it's making me feel better, and then they're teaching me how to cope with it." And it was like, "Oh, okay, got it." So, while yes, that is a wonderful option, if you do not have that option, like, it can be expensive if you're struggling with money, if that's something that you're struggling with, and that's part of what's getting you, and then along with all these other things, like, the therapy may not be an option. That may not be an option for everyone. I watched a podcast with AJ Lee from WWE with Stephanie McMahon, and they were talking about mental health. And she was talking about I believe it's the 688 or 988, the suicide hotline. They had lost funding for these specialty programs. And I think they said 1 million people had called that line last year. And I think that's where a lot of these things, I talked about that earlier. Like if mental health is profitable in a lot of these ways, you can kind of look at it. Our world's designed to keep you mentally fucked. Everything. The reason I started doing all of this was after I quit my job because of the anxiety and what I was feeling through it. Like feeling that melt and feeling that go away made me like hyper vigilant of anything that caused that feeling again. Sorry. But it made me super hyper vigilant of anything in my body that felt that way, anything in my brain that started making me feel that negative spiral. It was like, ooh, okay, what what was that, and how do I address this? How do I make this go away? And don't realize until you start doing it, it kind of opens up like a Pandora's box. It spirals out in a good way, I guess. But the more that I handled things differently, the more that I controlled my anger, the more that I again let my happiness run the control panel. And yeah, I can feel the other emotions. I can feel anger, I can feel guilty, I can feel any of them, but not letting those consume you, not letting those like take over and ruin your whole day. That was what I had to learn. Learning that I can't control things, learning that no matter how much I want to talk or fix, or it doesn't matter. I can't control it. I have to understand that I can only control my actions. I can only control what I'm doing, my emotions. I can't control other people. I can't control anything else. So learning to put energy into only things that I can control. I can control doing things that make me happy. I can control doing things that make me feel better, make my health better. And that's where I choose to put my energy. I used to put my energy into everything. I used to put my energy into making sure everyone else was taken care of, making sure that everyone else was good. And I wasn't always taking care of myself. I hated the way I looked. I had a lot of pent up anger issues. I wasn't really sure where they came from. I kind of always just pretended they didn't exist. I kind of always pretended they were not they were just, oh, it's everybody else. And that's that victim mentality. And that's another one that you can fall into where it's everyone else's fault. It's not, nope, everyone else is doing wrong. And being able to flip that and start going, no, I'm being a fucking asshole. I got to fix this. Like, no, I'm handling this the wrong way. I'm speaking to people the wrong way. It doesn't matter if you're right. It doesn't matter. You still should, again, it's the old cliche of speak to people the way you'd like to be spoken to, treat people the way you would like to be treated. And kind of having that realization of talking to a lot of people and realizing that, oh shit, everyone is going through something, or well, most people are going through something. Most people are like, you have an argument with your spouse and you just walk out of the house like it never happened and go to whatever you're going to and pretend it doesn't exist, or the kid didn't sleep very good last night and you had a rough night, or the finances dipped, or like it's Christmas time, Christmas is coming up and the finances dip. And I assume there's a lot of people that have either been in that at one point or another or in that currently, and that world is exhausting. It's you're trying to like basically figure out your kids' happiness along with trying to like figure out your life and your normal budget. And this isn't a super easy time of year for a lot of people. So you see a lot of people that are super super happy, and then you see a lot of people who just completely fly off the rails. And that mental health portion is a lot of it. It's so much of what we eat as a country that it is crazy the amount of ingredients that are in food, the amount of things that I eat now that I'm doing this. Like the way my brain felt that morning after I ate fast food 3 times, like everything felt negative, everything felt shitty. I was in a bad mood and I just had to control it. I just had to tell myself, hey, this isn't, none of this shit's real. You're in a bad mood because you ate like an asshole yesterday. And now you need to get your ass up and go to the gym, and we need to get this out. We've got to sweat this out. We've got to work this out. And having that awareness that, oh, this is the food I'm eating. This is and my diet drastically dictates like how my brain and body feel. And when I slip off the diet, if I start eating a bunch of sugar, it's Christmas time. There are fucking cookies and candies and bullshit everywhere. And don't get me wrong, I have indulged so many times, but I also this morning did I forget what it was, a 400 calorie burning arm workout at 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's understanding that like I track my calories every day. So I used to have I could not eat all day and then eat one meal that was 1,000 calories, and I maybe ate a couple extra pieces of garlic bread, or I ate an extra roll, or I had a bowl of ice cream after dinner, and I would get so mad at myself. And it was like to an unhealthy point at some points where it was like, then again, like that's what pushed me to fast for, I did an 80-hour fast. And what pushed me to do that was the night before, I believe I had fast food, and then I had eaten puppy chow and a root beer or Dr. Pepper or something. And that next morning, I was in the bathroom at 3 a.m. with an Elvis situation where I thought it was my time and I was getting ready to go down. And it was like, okay, fuck this. This is so stupid. But that's how delicious it is. That's how much like I crave it at times. Is then I'll have days like Thursday where I eat it once and it entices that like, oh fuck yeah, let's do it. And yeah, you just lose your shit. And it's like, oh, that was stupid. But like not being mad at myself and being able to just be like, yeah, dumbass, don't do that. Like that was not a fucking good idea. You probably should not have eaten all of that fast food. And then this is why you feel this way. So get back to work. And then I went on to AI and I typed in everything. I was like, all right, listen, I had an old school fat day and I went after it. This is what I ate. This was what I burnt. This is what I did. Where are we at? And I think it told me that I put on like less than 2% or less. I'm sorry, it was like 0.17 of a percentage of body fat was what I added, or like less than a pound of body fat. Like it it was basically nothing. It was like your body burnt most of this. Like, was it the best idea? No. Would I do this every day? Absolutely not. But like, you didn't derail your progress. You didn't do, and it was like, oh yeah, one day isn't gonna mess this up. The reason I have the lower belly fat is because I spent a decade fucking my body up with reckless abandon. And now I'm trying to put it back together over a 3-year span. And same thing, you just mentally get yourself in that world. Or, like I talked about earlier, the mental battle of trying to do this podcast, you get into that like weird, I don't even know how to describe it. You get into these weird mental spirals with things where that that control will creep in, or these mental hurdles will creep in life, I guess is what I meant, and you'll try to control it to an extent where you're trying to fix it. You're trying to figure it out. And it's not, it may not be something that needs fixed or figured out. There's a lesson here somewhere. And that took me forever, because I would have something where like I would have a good moment where I would figure out something that I was consistently messing up, and I would put it into play where okay, so my kids, or we'll go with my wife. If there was something going on where we were struggling and we weren't seeing eye to eye on something, we were having issues with something, it there would be a lot of that, like trying to prove my point of like, oh hey, this is what, and learning how she communicates, learning how she needs to be like taken care of, talked to. Like, the more we have done these things, the more we have talked to each other, and the more it opens up that vulnerability, the more we learn about each other. So then when these things would come up, for a long time, we would get over these hurdles where we would get through a situation, and I'd have a realization of like, oh, okay, this is what's happening. This is what I'm doing. This is what I need to fix, or vice versa. We would have a realization of, oh, okay, this is what she was doing. This is what we need to fix. And at first, it wasn't always easy, because we would get through those and then it would break, and it would be this like peace and everything would be great. And then something else would happen. We'd have a car breakdown. We'd have a flat tire. We'd have the water heater mess up, the a pipe burst. And when I say a pipe burst, I have a little, I don't even know that I would call it a hallway. There's nothing. It's a wall in between my washer and dryer and then where my sink is in the bathroom. And there is a about foot cutout that houses all of the piping. So when the pipe bursts, there's just nowhere, you can't get to it. Anyway, I digress. That's the type of shit that would happen over and over and over again. And I would get mad. I would get like, oh my gosh, like, come on, like, what is going on? Why are we dealing? And I finally had to realize that's just life. Life's going to always throw problems at you, and it's learning how to handle them. So each time a new problem came, I kept getting better at going, hey, this is happening for me, not to me. There is a lesson here somewhere. I either need to handle this better, I need to react better, I need to act better. Whatever it was, there was something here that I needed to pick out of, or it was something that I needed to work with, whether it was balancing life with my wife and kids, balancing the household things. I would dive into things and just burn myself out, because I just would see it and want it to be fixed. I wanted it to be done. I kept putting a timetable on it. I kept putting, oh, this is going to be that thing that like gets me to that point where I can start doing the podcast again, where I feel good about it, where, and then I would work on something, do something, and it wouldn't go the way I thought it would. And it would turn into this like, oh my gosh, all right, what now? What do we got to do now? How can we fix this? And it was me learning that I there is no just learn. I have to learn from these things. The negative things in life are not a roadblock. They're a lesson. There's something there that I need to address in my life. There's something there that I need to fix. Learning, and the same thing I said on the first one about the roller coaster ride, learning that once you strap in to that roller coaster, you have two options. It's going to take off regardless, and what's going to happen is going to happen. You can freak out the whole time throughout the ups, the downs, the twists, and the turns, and not enjoy the ride, or you can sit back and enjoy the ride knowing that you have no control. This thing could fly off the rails at any moment and crash. And unfortunately, you don't have control. You chose to step on that ride. So ride it and enjoy it, knowing that that is a risk that you're taking. And that's that same social media thing where you're seeing all of the horrible of the horrible, and the 800,000 times those roller coasters ride, but you see the one time where something wild happens, that and then it makes you completely freak out, and that's kind of what I do. So I learned that not doing that, not trying to control and living life that way of like riding the roller coaster. It's going to go up and down and flippy floppy and drop you on your fucking head. And you can scream the whole time and freak out, or you can ride the ride and have fun and just let it do what it's going to do and stop trying to control the ride. Stop panicking and losing your mind over every thing that freaks you out, because facing fear, facing uncomfortable things helps your mental health so much. Facing these things, like I said earlier with talking, speaking out these things that you're scared of, speaking out these things that you've either done that you're embarrassed about, that you don't want anyone to know, however you need to do that, however you can do that. That's such a good way. Another just easy thing you can do, I guess I shouldn't say easy because it fucking sucks, but whether it be a cold plunge or just turning your shower all the way cold at the end of your shower, take that nice warm shower and then fuck up all of your comfort at the end. Turn that bitch all the way cold and then just grit through it as long as possible. Turn around, get your back, put your head in it, put your face in it. I don't i don't want to butcher what all it does, but it does so much for your body, your health, your brain. It opens up all of it. It gives you a shot of adrenaline like you just drank a pre-workout, but it sucks. It is fucking horrible. You are going to yell, you're going to scream, you're going to be pissed, you're going to and do that. Just fucking scream at me the whole time that you're doing it. That's fine. But I promise you it will change the way your brain operates, because you're purposely putting yourself through something uncomfortable, and you start getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I did a 46-degree cold plunge not too long ago, thanks to my brother-in-law. And I did research, and it was like, oh, that was like super, super, super low. And I gritted through it for 2 minutes. But that first, I think I got the first 30 seconds where he tells me I'm at 30 seconds, and I went, oh, nope. And mentally, I remember the moment. I was like, oh, fuck this. Like, but luckily my daughter was out there, and I had that moment of like, oh no, like I got to do this and like show her like I can't give up because it's cold. Like I'm already in here. It already sucks. It's 2 minutes of my life. Do it. It's you can do it. You can grit through it. And it hurt. It hurt so bad. But afterwards, that adrenaline, that just focus, the all of it, I felt like a superhero afterwards. And don't get me wrong, it was possibly one of the coldest things. It was the coldest thing. It took me forever. I felt just legitimately chilled to the bone for a while, but he built a cold plunge out of a deep freezer, and it is pretty badass. I'll try to post the video at some point. I think I have it, so I'll try to post that at some point to go along with this one. But putting yourself through hard things, making yourself uncomfortable was another one. Sitting in the sauna, I try to push myself, putting myself in that spot in the gym where for a long time I just went through the motions. I was just in there lifting to lift, going, oh, yeah, I'm in here lifting. This feels good. And I was getting results. But I read something not too long ago about pushing yourself and like putting yourself into a spot where you're getting to that seventh, eighth rep and it's becoming to failure. Because when you fail, you learn. When you fail, you're pushing your body to that exertion that like, I don't know, mentally you have to kind of like come back from, because it does it like, still like it pisses me off whenever I don't get to the number I was trying to get. But it's just putting yourself in these uncomfortable things safely, making yourself do things. When I did stand up, that that still was probably the thing that fucked me up the most mentally, because I was so nervous. That was something that I've always wanted to do. I've always thought it would be fun, but I've always struggled with the, like, writing process. I can, like, come up with premises, but the writing, the structure, and then, like, physically being on the stage and having to memorize and do these things, like, it just overwhelmed the shit out of me. And I was in that same mindset of, like, just trying everything. Anything that popped up, I was like, yeah, like, especially if it scared me. It the boudoir photo shoot we did, that scared the hell out of me. I still have a complex about taking my shirt off in front of anyone. So doing that and being basically butt ass naked in a lady's yard doing pictures was wild. But afterwards, it broke down a level. The stand up, when I got ready to go up there, I signed up to go second because I just did not want to lead it off. But I'm like, I want to get this out of the way so I'm not sitting here freaking out the whole time. And I did not, because nobody signed up for one. So I ended up going first anyway. And I went up there and I did my best. It went okay. But that energy it took, the fear that I had going up there, like, just you're just on an island by yourself, and hey, you're either funny or you're not. This is either going to go great or you're going to look like a complete jackass. And luckily I held it together and went and did it. And that was another one that it broke down a huge wall. I used to get scared. I had to do a conference with a boss, and we had to do a presentation where I basically just had to walk through what I was doing for my job. And like the amount of anxiety I had to have to just get on that call, or to have calls with people that were under me when I was a supervisor. When, like, the first time I did any of the wrestling stuff, like that anxiety of going through the curtain and then having to get in a ring and talk. And then once you start breaking those fears, like, these are all things that I have been like deathly afraid of my whole life. And then the more I started doing them, the more I started talking about them, it it started dissipating that. And then I started getting kind of callous to it, where the nerves would still get there, but it wasn't the same thing. It was more because I cared and I didn't want to fuck up. I didn't want to ruin someone's thing. I didn't want to make something look bad. I didn't want to make my stuff look bad. I didn't want to give anyone a reason to, like, come at me for anything. And learning, like, to just kind of let that go and not have that mental of like, just do your thing. Like, in most cases, if you're doing good, people aren't going to like it. If you're doing bad, people are going to make fun of it, mostly because it makes them feel better. So people are going to people no matter how you do life. So you might as well do life the way you want to do life. And it takes so much out of that, like making decisions for yourself, like I said earlier, via your happiness, not needing to go through the carousel of texting people to get that validation of, oh yeah, that's a good idea, you should do that, or needing to call a bunch of people to get that. No, if it makes you happy, if you're not hurting anyone, if you're not like doing wrong by anyone, and you're just looking out for your happiness, then that should always be okay. It should always be okay to go for your happiness. And I think, like, I posted a video on TikTok not too long ago about like the senior year of high school being a U101. And I posted that directly because of mental health. I think if, like, obviously these subjects and these general knowledge things are very, very important, but 12 years seems like overkill to me. And it seems like that could be a great way. I understand parents should be teaching these things, parents, but the way of the world, the money, the jobs, the activities after school, the household things, dinner, like there's not a whole lot of time in life, and I'm very convinced that it's all done by design. Everything distracts you, whether it's social media, sports, you're just kind of stuck in this rat race going around in circles at a billion miles an hour. Who has time? Like, you try your best, you're trying, like, all of us are trying our best. That's what you're out there doing, but the time and the ability may not always be there for everybody, and I think as a just, like, literally as just humans, having that year before we send these kids out into the wild to learn themselves, to study themselves, to understand life, to understand how to communicate with people, how finances work, how just everything in life that you can pack into 1 year and let them study themselves. They can study relationships, they can study communication is the most. They can learn how every person's unique. Every person has something. You have something that pushes you, that drives you, that little inner you is like, I want to do this. I'm very convinced that everyone has that. I'm very convinced that throughout time, you just kind of learn to play safe. You learn that, oh, we must go into business. You must do, but that's because that's what we're seemingly being bred for. You learn to be on time. You learn to memorize things. You learn to be obedient, to follow the rules. You don't you're not really learning. They seem like they're doing a much better job now via a lot of the stuff that I see. Obviously, I'm not in school, but I just feel like having a full year to really work with children on who they are as people, what life is, problem solving, how life's going to be hard. And I think on a lot of cases we go through things as people and then we try to shield our kids from that rather than have them face these things that we not only did we face, but we've never faced them again, and they eat at you. So then we kind of go batshit crazy the opposite way, trying to keep these things from happening. And then when you see that, most of the time it ends up happening anyway. You end up causing the exact thing that you're not trying to do. For example, I talked about last time with my kid in baseball. That was exactly what happened. My fear of that game passing him or him getting cut from that team or him not progressing caused me to act like a fucking asshole. I was constantly on him. I was constantly getting him to go practice. Not because I was just hated my kid and was mad at him, but it was because I was so fucking scared that the game was going to pass him by and he was going to get his heart broken by baseball like I did. It didn't go the way I thought it would go. I didn't put in the work that I should have. And then in turn, I ended up pushing it out of him because I didn't let him do his thing and I tried to control it. I tried to use my knowledge and, oh, I can give you the cheat codes here. I can help you do this. And well, unfortunately, that's not what he wanted to do. And I didn't take the time to ask him that. So me letting my opinion, and that happened with hunting recently, and I went a whole different route. I knew learning that lesson through baseball. Hunting is something that I got into late in life. I got into in my 30s, and it wasn't like a super like I inviting world to go into, so I kinda just looked up things on my own, figured out what I needed, talked to certain people that I could talk to, and just kinda figured it out. I was always interested in it, it always fascinated me, and then I had an experience shooting a deer with a bow, and it dropped in front of me, and kind of watching that process and it making eye contact with me the whole time, it kind of, like, sent that weird thing in my brain along with trying to learn religion and, like, respecting the creatures and then, like, the hunting and obviously with the population control, like, there's the 2 sides of it, so it's that, like, conflicting weird thing that I know is a big topic. So it was something that I was kind of on the outs on. I didn't really have that drive to, but my son has always loved it and was really wanting to go. And it was that moment of like, oh, I'm not going to push. Like, he's his own person. Like, this is something that we've always done together. And I can explain to him why I'm not taking my weapon with me and why this is his hunt and those things. And I can help him and do those things, but I don't have to project my dilemma on him. I want him to experience these things and learn these things. And I don't know if how I feel about it is correct or not. So I took a completely hands-off approach. I let it be completely his hunt, kind of supervised by me. I I had no mindset either way. I didn't care if we succeeded, if we failed. It was his to happen the way it happened, and it went phenomenally. We went twice, and the second morning we were out there for maybe an hour, and he was able to make that kind of make it happen and get to a point where he had that. And it was such a cool feeling to watch him do that, to watch him do all of it on his own, completely hands off for me. So much so he had it ready to go, and he finally had to look at me like, "Hey, is it like, are you going to give me the green light?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to. Like, this was your thing, man. Yeah, do it." And like, he even had the like ability to kind of hold himself up and not let that adrenaline take over, and it was cool. But I didn't project my dilemma onto him, and I let him experience that, and it was awesome. Then it got us a freezer full of food. It is provided for us, and it was but again, it's just me not controlling that situation and letting everything play out day to day. Like, obviously, if my kid's coming to me going, "Hey, I would like to go commit a crime," like, yeah, that's a little bit different, and that's one of those you have to intervene as a parent. But in reality, like, that was me being able to back off, and again, like, even with my kids, control what I can control. That's my actions, that's my behavior, that's how I lead my household. That's the example that I set, the way that I'm speaking. And if they're doing something, most of the time it was mirroring me or my wife. If they were doing something that was making us angry or feel weird, most of the time it was things that we were doing, whether it was internally or outwardly. There was things that they were picking up internally. And then I had that thought of like, well, yeah, kids learn to like walk and talk via just absorption. Like, you're going to absorb these things. So the way that we're behaving as parents internally, I think they pull. And I say that because there's things that like I was like habits that I was not outwardly expressing, or there were a lot of mental things. And I would have conversations with my kids about things they were doing. And it was like, oh shit, they're doing the same thing. Like, how the fuck does that work? That's weird. And but then again, makes you kind of go, oh, okay, gotta make that change. Like, can't be having my kids do that. And the more I have been able to like prospectively take that step back and look at these things in my mental health. And I guess the best way to look at it is like, you have this big belt fed Gatling gun, and it's got a hair trigger on it. So every time that thing even gets remotely bumped, you're firing off multiple bullets. And we got to figure out like how to strengthen up that trigger. And the way to do that is by addressing these things. Whenever you have a moment where something hits you and you fire off 15 bullets, take that, even if it's not in the moment. Once you get out of that, take that leap to objectively look at that, objectively look at yourself and go, okay, I don't like the way that I reacted there. Why? What did I do? What was that pissed me off? What was it? And then the more you do that, the more you talk about your fears, your traumas, your guilt, your shame, you you relinquish that hold it has on you. You literally break those chains and work your way out of it. And that's how I was able to start building this discipline with being in the gym like I am now, being able to get myself on these days that I have these horrible eating days, like not letting it be a week or month long thing. It's a one day thing. And then I'm back to my routine. I'm not backing off. And it's like, hey, yeah, we had a weekday, we had a bad day. We're not letting that happen again. Get back to work, get back to what we're doing. And that discipline was nowhere to be found back 3 to 5 years ago. And it's been a lot of removing these triggers, because when you're triggered, you fall into these negative habits. When you're triggered, you're sad, you're mad, you're happy. You fall into these things that we get addicted to over time, that, like, well, it's not heroin, so it's not that bad, but like, you're also addicted to it. You're also, and I say that because I went to a wrestling event last year, and we were up towards the top, and as soon as the action stopped and everything like took a break for a second, you watched an entire crowd collectively all pull their phones out at the same time, and it was like, oh, that's that dopamine addiction. Like, that immediate reach for the phone, that immediate want for food, the want for, it's hard to sit in silence with your thoughts. So the more you get those out, the more you express those, the more you relinquish that fear, that guilt, that shame that it holds on you. You lift those weights, you break those chains from your brain, and those things stop controlling you, because now you're not scared of it anymore. It's like the Home Alone. I'm not afraid anymore. But then when it comes back, you can't scream and run back in the house. You have to keep facing it. You have to keep going at it. You have to keep dealing with it. Don't let It's not just going to go away. When you handle it the first time, you're going to feel that weight lift off, but it'll creep back. It'll creep back to test you, to see if it still has that hold on you. And then you just go, oh, hey, you make friends with those motherfuckers. You make friends with those demons, and you don't let them spiral you out of control. You don't let them affect you. You name them. You talk about them. You express them. Fuck it. Like, we're all people. We all have fucked up problems. We all get addicted to stupid shit. Like, I mean, shit, as men, look at porn. Porn's introduced to us at such a young age, and you just get fucking addicted to it. And it's just this thing that it's like, oh, yep, that's just, and it's like, oh, then you read things about how much it fucks with you mentally, how much it fucks with your sex drive, with your brain, and just the way you function as a human. It's another cheap dopamine drip that keeps you coming back, and then that's why all this shit makes money. It's the same with social media. You're looking for that validation of, like, then you're trying to keep up with this highlight reel of what everyone's posting. People aren't posting the negative. They're not posting the fights they've had. They're not posting the downfalls with their finances. They're not posting the problems they're having with their kids, with this thing. Well, the water heater went out. Well, the furnace went out and it's negative 10 degrees outside. Like, most people aren't, you're just trying to put that mask on and say everything's okay, when in reality, most of us are just trying to figure it the fuck out. And I think, again, normalizing that as humans and making that just regular life, that, hey, people struggle. People, like, it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means that life has gotten to you at some point, and there's some shit on your brain that you need to talk about. And just finding someone to talk about, fuck, I have that lumpsoflife@gmail.com. I am the only person that has access to that. If you are in a spot that you do not have someone to talk to and you are spiraling out of control, that is the most lonely, isolating fucking experience. Don't fucking sit with that. Type that shit out and fire it to my email. It can sit there. I can respond to you. I can send you something back, whatever. But it can stop right there, and you can know you have a confident place to fire that off. And even just expressing it in writing will make you feel better in that moment and get that off of your head. And obviously utilize that if you ever need to, because it sucks. It's a super isolating experience to go through these mental battles. And then this time of year gets really fucking hard. You get the winter, you don't get to be outside in the sun, you don't get to, like, grounding is one of my favorite things, putting my feet in the grass, and it literally does something to your nervous system. Same thing like being at the beach, in the water, in the sand. A lot of the vitamins I take, ashwagandha, vitamin D, oh, magnesium, all of these help with your nervous system and start calming you down. And that helps in that. Being in the gym, exerting that physical, your body just needs something to fucking do. And you're freaking out. Your body, like for me, whenever my anxiety, it means I'm not doing something right. I'm not exerting energy in the right way. I'm not doing something and I got to get it together. But well, I'm going to wrap this up. I went almost an hour again. I do want to end this one more time. For real, if mental health is something you are struggling with and you don't have anyone to talk to and you're struggling to find a therapist, like I do have that email, lumpsoflife@gmail.com. Type it out. I assure you, I am the only person that has access to it and it will never ever see the light of day, but anything that I could do to help bring someone out of that fucking hole, I would gladly do it. So if you can't find something else and you need to express that shit, fucking type it out to me. I will happily read it and do my best to respond. Or you could even say, hey, I don't even need a response. Thank you for letting me. I just need to vent this shit out. Like, let me just fucking ran it out and go. Cause sometimes that's all you need. You just need somewhere to exert that energy. So if you don't have that, utilize me. Well, thank you for joining me again. I appreciate it. And I will be back next week. Merry Christmas.